Hey everyone, it's Posse Boldrin, and in this video we're interviewing one of our clients. So his name is Zach Koops, and he's a realtor in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So Zach's been our client a little bit over a year right now. He's been in the program for longer periods of time, and I wanted to shoot this interview to ask for his experience and also for him to be able to share some of the insights he's had from working with us and really from building up his personal brand as a realtor. So Zach, hey, how's it going? How's it going in Harrisonburg?
Hey, it's going well. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to our interview.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, you've been our client for about 2.5, so a little bit more than that actually. So you've been our client for over a year now. So what most realtors are obviously interested in first is how many transactions have you generated? How much business are you generating on a yearly basis right now, specifically from social media?
Sure. So social media has impacted my business to have about 2.5 million more sales that I would not have had otherwise. And that's been consistent over the last 2 years.
Nice. And when you got started to work with us, what was your situation like back a year ago, a little bit more than that? When you started to work with us, how many transactions were you generating then from social media?
I was maybe about a $5-6 million real estate agent market, which is within the top 10% of agents here. So 30 transactions a year, 25 to 30. So adding $500,000 was a real difference.
Gotcha. So you added around 50% more business to the previous one, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Nice. And with that, so when you got started to work with us, what kind of things did you do before on social media? What things did you try before working with us?
Sure. So I'm a member of a team of agents, and so we will share leads among, something that's can't pick up because of busy schedule and that often. Of course, we'll have a referral fee and that kind of thing along with that. So not making full commission on that. Also, Zillow share Zillow leads as well. It's just a team, and so we all kind of pay into Zillow formula as well, which we're actually no longer doing. But previously, that's kind of what we did. And to generate clients, email newsletter go out once a month, and then also just sort of word of mouth and normal prospecting items like sending out mailers or doing some local advertising, things that you sort of just have to guess at, and you can't quite tally how much is coming from what area because it's just somewhat impossible to know. So that's kind of what led me to you guys.
Got it. And you mentioned that you're no longer doing any Zillow marketing, right?
That's right. We do. The only thing that I do on there is organic, just asking people to write a review after they me, which actually generates some leads on its own organically. But beyond that, I'm not paying for any Zillow leads at this point.
Got it. Okay. What was the reason you decided to cut off the Zillow? Because that's what I'm hearing, like a lot of real estate. I was actually just on a sales call before this interview, and the same thing happened there. Realtor was saying they're spending about $3,000 per month on Zillow leads, and they're cutting it off now, trying to go to social media. So what was the reason you decided to do that as well?
Yeah, it's a major expense. And over the course of a year, our team as a whole would spend anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 for these leads. And the quality of the leads are just, sometimes it's a great go somewhere right away and you get a great transaction, but those are pretty rare. I'd say maybe you're closing 1 out of 10 leads, or maybe even less with something like that. And then the rest are sort of warm leads or really not qualified to buy. And very rarely do seller leads come through Zillow. And so that was one major reason I decided not to pursue Zillow for leads anymore, is because I'm really trying to target sellers and listings for my business. Still helping buyers, of course, those who I sell their homes. But Zillow just doesn't seem to really provide quality vetted leads for the types that I'm looking for.
Got it. Yeah, and that's what I've noticed myself is also the cost to the ROI. So I was on a call myself here I think the person was generating also leads from Zillow, but they were spending around $400 per one lead. Now, since you are obviously doing social media yourself, have you seen also improvement in that? So how many leads you're getting on a monthly basis for the money that you spend?
Yeah, I would say on a monthly basis, actual like leads that I can qualify, follow up with, and actually have a conversation to, maybe about a dozen or so that are quality leads. Those don't always turn into a transaction right away, but they're certainly better nurture leads than the random person clicking on a Zillow button.
Yeah, definitely. So with that, so when we get started to work together, which you can tell me a little more about that experience. So you can tell me like how we got started, where you get started off with, what was your initial kind of like place that we started off from to build up the social media brand and to build up these systems?
Sure, yeah. Back, I guess it was around, honestly, I think it was about this time 2 years ago that I started thinking about really wanting to focus on social media. I just had been sort of guessing at what to post. Since then, I had a Facebook account that, everyone kind of has a Facebook, and I really didn't spend any time on LinkedIn or Instagram or really know the value of those two platforms. And so I had seen other realtors post some things here and there, a link to an article about real estate or some local stats or a listing that's for sale or a house recently sold that we, closed on or something like that. And I just kind of was realizing, I feel like I can do this better. I'm not getting any results from this. I'm not really getting engagement from my audience the way that I would like to. I'm not sure if this is helping. And so I guess Facebook algorithms knew I was interested in some sort of lead generating social media equivalent help. And so one of your ads came up in my Facebook feed, which I clicked on. I don't remember which one, but it led me to a website with a video presentation that you had done there and just sort of a sales pitch and talking about how you guys approach developing social media for a realtor, and then can go from there. And so what I was attracted to was the fact that it really wasn't a pay to play type of program. It was more of we're going to coach you, develop a skill so that this can last forever as long as you want to put it to good use. And it will produce leads for you, and not just any ordinary lead that can just click on a button asking for more information, but actually a lead that is probably qualified and a type of person that you want to work with. And so that really attracted me to you guys initially. That, and also just at that time, the program was very in-depth in coaching as well. And just gave a lot of really, really solid information on how to develop a personal brand, how to really showcase myself and my business the way that I want to be viewed and be understood, so that I can attract the people that I naturally click with. So all those things were just really good factors for me wanting to zero in on you guys. And so far it's been really, really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And something like I've noticed myself, like looking at your social media, looking at your content, is that you really like double down on that fact where you're attracting the people who you're clicking with. Because a lot of realtors, what they do with their social media content, as example, is that they automate it, or they like to use, an example, virtual assistant who does the content for them. But you specifically, you double down on creating the content yourself. What was the reasoning behind that? Why did you decide to double down on this, as example, say using an automated solution or something like that?
I just knew that I needed to have a consistent voice. My history in my education has actually been theater, and so I've had a lot of education in how to study people in order to become an actor. And I didn't go down the career path, but in so doing, I've learned how people interact with each other and been able to understand that there's a certain value to having a consistent message and a consistent voice. If I was to hire someone else to be an assistant, it would need to be a personal assistant who knows me well. And even then, I'd be very wary of doing something like that, because any inconsistency in my voice, an audience will pick up on. People are smart. They're going to know who it is talking and who it isn't. If it's an automated or virtual assistant, they're going to know, they're going to click away. They're not going to be interested. It's not personal. It's not me. And so that's really why I wanted to double down, was to just stay consistent with my voice, let people see who I am so that they can choose to work with me fishing for them to try and bait them and come work with me.
Yeah, precisely. And like the reason why most realtors though like use an automated service or use a virtual assistant is quite a lot of times they say that creating content takes a lot of their time, so that they think that they need to be like, 5 hours per day or 10 hours per day on social media or something like that. But realistically, like on a weekly basis, what would you say, how much time are you spending on creating the content?
Yeah, it would depend on the content that I'm creating, but I'd like to I usually spend about an hour a day on content creation, and that's not put in use in the same day. So I'll maybe create content 3, 4, or 5 days in advance and have a nice running stream there ready to go, so that if I want to go on holiday or something, it's already there to just sort of plug in. It takes me a couple of minutes to make my post at a certain time of day, no matter where I am. I can do it from my mobile phone. So really, it's just a matter of maintaining a schedule, being consistent, putting in the work, and really focusing in on the key things that I want people to know about me.
Yeah, precisely. And before you were spending that time on social media, did you spend example time on calling people or things like that, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I still will call people, occasionally from leads that I get, or connect with them via text message. But there's a big difference between a cold lead and a warm, hot lead. And I'm finding that when I'm talking with people I've connected with over social media, it's as if they already know me. And so there's a very good warmness and a connection already established there that really puts me in an advantage when converting that person into a sale.
Yeah, precisely. So it really boiled down into kind of like making that strategic decision where you prioritized content creation over any other activity you could have done at that time, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I'm going to, stuff a bunch of envelopes and send them to communities, and looking for people to sell their house, saying I have a buyer interested, or whatever it is, that's a lot of time that I could actually spend sitting and writing and promoting myself in a way that is really well received and able to connect with. So, and I find that has a much broader reach, a much further reach in the local community than sending letters, for example, to one neighborhood, where maybe if I'm lucky, by the 3rd or 4th round of doing that, I'll have somebody call me.
Yeah, precisely. So that's what I've noticed myself as well. Like a lot of the times, let's say somebody is kind of hesitant to do the content, they might already be doing, say, 5 hours per day of cold calling or prospecting. So boiling it down, they might already spend, say, 60 hours per week on cold calling. So it's kind of boiling down on the fact of realizing the value of social media and putting in, like you said, 1 hour per day, so about 5 hours per week into it. So which is going to allow you, again, like you said, to attract those people you're actually clicking with. So
Something else I would say too on that is that it really becomes second nature as you get into the groove, just like anything else. And I think I remember this from early on when we spoke. Developing the content, it's kind of like riding a bike. Like once you go through the hard part of learning how to pedal and steer and keep your balance, it's nothing to it after that. And so getting the photos, taking pictures, creating Facebook stories, Instagram stories, and then just sitting down and doing some raw writing. Once it's integrated into your schedule, it's really not even a thought or a worry about, man, I'm spending too much time on this, or I should be doing something else. It just becomes part of your, and so it's really that whole scary part of, wow, I have to commit so much time to this, just fades away after about a month. So that was really reassuring and helpful as well.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, what I've noticed from your content is quite often it gets a lot of engagement, and we actually use some of your posts, for example, as a modeling post for some of our clients. What would you say for somebody who's not done that much content, or maybe they have tried out to do content, they haven't been that successful with it? What would you say to them? Like, what kind of content specifically should a realtor create on their social media?
I would say it all kind of boils down to what they would like their audience to perceive about them. And so developing a personal branding pro forma, if you want to think of it that way, or some key points you want people to know about you, and then just having a free personal, almost a journal entry about what those things are, or various pieces to those things, is really a great way to start. And that's kind of how I think about it, is just sort of like writing in a journal. Or sitting down and talking with someone and having a cup of coffee and just speaking that way or writing that way. And just being very, very aware of what's something that they can learn from me, or something I can teach someone that's valuable to anyone. And a lot of times a personal story does the trick. People really engage well when they have something they can relate to. And a lot of times that means sharing something that's vulnerable in your life that you might not always want to share with the general public. And so you have to use some of your own judgment on that. And then just really honing in and creating a consistency with those messages, I think teaches people who you are. And so I don't know if I'm talking too much about that, Passy, but that's really a key, I think, is just keeping everything to a strict message about who you are, and then just having a personal voice, and being vulnerable. So my best engaged posts have been the ones where I share about things like a divorce I had in my past, about my kids, and maybe tying it into real estate, or just mentioning that I'm a realtor here and there. People aren't interested always in knowing what house I have for sale this week, or or next week, or which one I just closed on. They'd rather learn more about, who is this guy? What's he built from? What's his life like, and why would I be interested in him? And then they just kind of naturally think of me when it's time to sell their house or want to buy another one.
Yeah, precisely. So I definitely agree with you there. And that's what's going to allow people, when you share that personal story, when you share your values, share your beliefs, and put in the work for that content, and you have that consistency in the message, now people start seeing that. And from there, you're able to attract the kind of people who resonate with you. Again, going back to lead quality, now you're talking to people who resonate with you already, right? So 100% agree with you there. Now, to keep this short, I wanted to ask you one quick question for the paid advertising process. So we have the organic marketing with you, which applies really to your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn. And then we also have the paid advertising, where we spend money on the Facebook advertisements and on the Instagram advertisements. You've been running the process for a while right now. And can you walk me through a little bit like how it's been working for you, and how the strategy has been maybe different from maybe other things you've tried, or say compared to Zillow or any other lead services out there?
Yeah, sure. One big thing that I really like about the Facebook paid strategy is that you can define your audience really well. You can really target a geographical area that you want to reach, down to the miles away from a specific location. So I really appreciate that, because it guarantees pretty much that anybody who has a Facebook account and is interested in housing in some degree, or interested in any of the topics you might write about, even the personal ones, they're going to see you. And so it's really, really cheap to put yourself in front of people on a repeated schedule over and over and over. And so in so doing, it becomes second nature for them to just kind of see you. It's funny, Passy, I get pulled aside in public by strangers who've seen my content. And I've always kind of just chuckled at it, because your program started by talking about, if you want to become a local celebrity or whatever. I don't think of myself as that at all, but it is interesting when someone pulls me aside, or pulls my wife aside. She's got stories too, and they'll say, "Hey, isn't your husband Zach Koops that realtor on Facebook I've seen?" Or, "I know all about your story and your family. I follow you guys. It's so cool," and things of that nature. It's just interesting. And so I think a lot of that boils down to everybody has a Facebook. Not everybody's on Zillow. Sure, every click that someone requests more information, they probably genuinely want it and are interested in the housing market. But Facebook just has a much bigger reach, and is, I think, a much better investment. And honestly, it's cheaper. Right now I'm kind of running a minimum, I guess a minimal schedule maybe on my ads. I could definitely go bigger if I want to, but this, I really don't have to. And I'm spending about $1,000 a month or so, and it's generating plenty of leads for me, plenty of connection. And when I get pulled aside on the street, I just know it's working. So pretty cool.
Yeah, precisely. I think like what's special about your situation is that you're especially, or the market that you're in is in Harrisonburg. So how many people are there? Like, was there like 50,000 or 100,000?
It's probably about 150,000 when the university students are here. When they're gone, you know, it's more like maybe 130 or 120,000. But yeah, not a huge city. Of course, I'm active in the county as well, and so that would take into some of those numbers too. But yeah, I mean, it's a smaller, in, you know, when you think of Northern Virginia, for example, that's a much larger metropolitan area where it's very competitive, and I think this would be extremely useful to a realtor in that area as well. But you know, there is an advantage to having this type of approach in a smaller area. We have maybe 300 realtors in over the, I would say, over the geographical area of 2 counties. And, you know, we all compete against each other, but nobody else is out there doing sponsored ads in this way that shows just a personal connection with really a lot of times no call to action at the end. Just, hey, here's who I am. If you're more interested, you're going to click on me. So yeah, it's a pretty cool reach.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's something I noticed myself, because when you run the omnipresence ads, we have about 10 to 20 different creatives there in the strategy. You'll be able to kind of like reach a lot of those homeowners there. Like, have you looked into the statistics for how much reach and how much impression you had in the business manager yet?
Yeah, I've looked briefly. I have to be the first to admit I'm not the most technologically advanced, and I have trouble kind of clicking through some of that sometimes. So I need to spend some more time in there. But when I looked, it looks like about 6,000 views. Excuse me, 6,000 people have seen my ads maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of a 6-month period. And so that's, to me, that's awesome. Like, just to be reaching that many people and to know that they've seen them, it's really cool, really cool. And it's no wonder people just say out of the blue, "Hey, that's Zach." I was at a pharmacy the other day just buying some, I don't remember what I was buying, something for my wife, but a guy walked in the front door as I was standing at the counter, and he looked at me and said, "Hey, are you Pete?" And I said, "Nope." And he said, "Oh, you look like a guy named Pete that I knew from college." I said, "No." And then the cashier said, "No, this is Zach Koops. He's a local realtor." And I never met that cashier in my life. just wild stuff to be recognized like that. Pretty cool though. I would then gave him a card and said, "Hey, if you're ever interested in buying or selling real estate, give me a call." So just a neat way to start conversations.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a nice thing. If you have like 130,000 people, then we run ads to them. Obviously, we specifically target people been on Zillow, homes.com, look at the real estate. So when you actually have 6,000 people, you're, reaching majority of the people who are in the real estate market, buying or selling, interested in it. You're staying top of mind, and it kind of builds up like you mentioned. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for the interview. What would you say for a realtor like who's considering maybe working with us or considering to build up their personal brand? They're kind of like on the fence. They're thinking about, okay, what's going to be investment? Have to put in the time. What would you say for realtors kind of like on the sidelines about the process?
Yeah, sure. I would say that, anything that you do, you'd want to think about a couple things. One, the more that you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And that just goes with just about anything in life. But with this program specifically, repeating the tasks you might think of as mundane is going to give you excellence. So just doing over and over and over and over and over what the program says to do will result in success. It will result in leads. It will result in money. So it does work. So I would say that. The other thing I would say is, as far as other programs out there, and some of my teammates have tried different things, bold leads, yada, yada, whatever else. There really is no perfect solution for paying for a lead. I mean, there's not, I've never found one. My team has never found one. There's not any good lead generation software out there, or a program or company that we have found that you can just give them money and they'll give you, hey, here's a well-qualified lead that will buy or sell their house within the next month. That just doesn't exist. So for me, I find a lot more security in a program that helps me develop my personal brand, which directly impacts my business and brings me clients that I'm interested in working with, and they're interested in working with me because we've already connected online. So that's what I would say to anybody considering the program. Also, you got excellent support. Passy and his partner Ely are great, and they will make sure that you succeed. So give it a shot.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, and if anyone watching this video, if you're looking to, or you need a realtor in Harrisonburg, maybe you want to refer some business to Zach, well, here's your realtor in there as well. So I'll leave your social media under this video. They can reach out to you there. So awesome, thanks for your time, Zach. Appreciate it. Looking forward to scaling things even to that next level from here.
You bet. Thanks, Passy. Take care.